exactly they're dismantling the Department of Education.
Say more.
I don't want the federal government telling me what to do in my classroom. They should leave that up to the states.
Oh, that's a misconception. The Department of Education has no power over what's taught in schools. In reality, it's already up to the states to determine what is taught in classrooms.
Oh, so what does the Department of Education do?
They send money to public schools.
So the funding my Title I school receives and the funding for children with special needs comes from the Department of Education?
That's right. They also manage college, financial, and student loans.
Like FAFSA? I received FAFSA.
Exactly. They also evaluate education outcomes and create the National Report Card. The data generated by the NAEP is then used by educators, policymakers, and researchers to work towards improving K-12 education across the country.
Oh, so that's how we know in both reading and math, most 4th and 8th graders in 2024 still performed below pre-pandemic 2019 levels, but are slightly better than 2022 in math scores?
Yeah, the Department of Education also investigates issues where schools may be breaking federal civic law of discrimination.
As a woman in the education field, I know firsthand how discrimination can affect our marginalized communities.
You get it.
So eliminating the Department of Education would steal resources for our most vulnerable students, explode class sizes, cut job training programs, make higher education more expensive and out of reach for middle-class families, take away special education services for students with disabilities, and gut student civil rights protections.
Yeah.
So Donald Trump has signed an executive order dismantling the Department of Education. He has all his reasons. I think it was a recommendation from the Doge department, that is Elon Musk, I think. But I don't, okay, according to what I've saw or what I've heard, there are people who are against it, and there are people who are supporting the idea. Just remember, the other day, he dismantled, or he signed an executive order ending the DEI, the diversity, equity, I think, and inclusiveness. So it means we should, the state or the federal government, dictate the coursework, like something, I think something like that. Now we have maybe the course for special children, the curriculum for those minority groups, and how things are handled. It provides fundings to those public schools. It provides loans to the marginalized through students' loans. So dismantling this, it means giving power back to the state. I think is this the state or I think something like that. Now, these states, it means that now the curriculum will be dictated by each states will have its own curriculum, which they believe having the same, many of the kids had difficulties actually in reading. So according to Donald Trump, for the graders, their way reading capacity was something down. So among these many reasons, there were job cuts. So this means that the government is trying to reduce its expenditure. And what does really this is going? Maybe is it going to affect the schools, or is it the right thing to do? So if you support what the government is doing, please give them the comment, and if you're against it, then write down the comment and tell us what you are thinking about it.
In order for us to be competitive, we're going to have to make some smart choices right now. Cutting our education budget, that's not a smart choice. That will not help us compete with China. Cutting our investments in research and technology, that's not a smart choice. That will not help us compete with China. bringing down our deficit by adding $7 trillion of tax cuts and military spending that our military is not asking for, before we even get to the debt that we currently have, that is not going to make us more competitive. Those are the kinds of choices that the American people face right now. Having a tax code that rewards companies that are shipping jobs overseas instead of companies that are investing here in the United States, that will not make us more competitive. And the one thing that I'm absolutely clear about is that after a decade in which we saw drift, jobs being shipped overseas, nobody championing American workers and American businesses, we've now begun to make some real progress. What we can't do is go back to the same policies that got us into such difficulty in the first place.
But they are doing that. They are defunding the organization. They are cutting investments in technology, investments in education, and this is currently what is happening. So they are going against what you thought for, and this is our government.
That's why we have to move forward and not go back.
But if you're not happy in the U.S., if you're complaining all the time, very simply, you can leave. You can leave right now. Come back if you want. Don't come back. It's okay, too. But if you're not happy, you can leave.
It's important to understand what it means by Republicans calling to end the Department of Education. The Department of Education does not handle curriculum, instruction, or instructional materials. Those decisions are already made locally by state and local boards of education. But what the Department of Education does handle is civil rights protections for all students. They handle supports for low-income students through their Title I funding. They develop and prepare educators through Title II funding and professional development. They provide resources for English language learners, collect statistics on enrollment, staffing, and crime in school. And the department is responsible for more than $1.6 trillion in federal student aid. 49 million students attend public school in this country, and all of the services provided by the Department of Education are at risk. Of those, 7.5 million students receive special education or related services under the Individuals with Disabilities in Education Act. IDEA makes a free and appropriate public education available to all eligible students. That means the occupational therapist that helps a student just to hold a pencil, because in their brain they have all the information, they just need to figure out a way to articulate that, is at risk. And I think people need to understand that an IEP is a legal document. It is not an education, solely an education document. Ending federal funding or eliminating the department does not end our legal obligation to provide these services to kids. So one of two things will happen. Either local communities will have to make hard choices about what other resources they have to cut to meet their legal obligation to educate these children, or their taxes will go up to to replace the funding that the federal government is no longer sending.
And what does American parents have to say about the education system? Are you guys happy? Are you guys supporting defunding or ending the Department of Education? What's your opinion? As we watch, we have this lady, or an American mom, I think, who has her own reasons why the Department of Education should be dismantled. Yeah, and what do you think about her reasoning? Please put down in the comment, and if you support it, and if you think the Department of Education is doing good or is it doing bad, please write down the comment. Let's listen to this.
This is why we need to stop giving our children tests. My son got a 7 out of 15 on this math test. He's in 4th grade. I don't even understand this. I am 38 years young. I have no idea how they even figure out these decimal math problems, which you will never, ever, ever probably use again in your entire life. And if you do need to use them, well, there's this thing called the calculator, Alexa, ChatGPT. And I'm sorry, but you know what my son wrote on here? He wrote, this is what is wrong with the education system. This right here is my son feeling like because he didn't do good on some test that even adults can't figure out.